Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Thursday, April 14th already. Holy cow. Tomorrow, tax day. I think, I don't, unless they move that date again, who the hell knows? They're always moving something. So, if you haven't got your taxes in, then you need a timestamp. I think tomorrow's the day. Quick shout out to my sister, who will be her birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, early birthday today. Overall, we couldn't be more excited. We have a special guest, a great friend in the studio with us. Everyone knows of him. I call him the real Vegas Dave, a good friend, and he was spent 15 days and nights with me out in Vegas, and everyone was asking if I was living at his house, and I have to say, Mrs. Consig probably wouldn't allow that. I know the kid wouldn't have, but offer was there, but we had other accommodations, but I couldn't have thanked him enough. But when we have an opportunity to bring him on, it's clear the desk and bring him on. So let's bring him on. The one, the only Mr. Dave Sharapan.
Good morning, Jeffrey.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm great, man. Look, I wrestled this off Mrs. Consig. This is the sweatshirt with me and you on it. The kids can't believe there's an actual shirt with me on it and you on it. But man, it's good to see you. You know, welcome back to Vegas in spirit, kind of, because it felt like you were never leaving while you were here.
I told you the story. I'll tell everyone watching and listening the story. So we land late that Tuesday night. No, kind of, 9:30, 10 o'clock. You were waiting for us at the airport, which was a blessing. Took me to my first accommodation. We met up that weekend. And when you say we played hard, it was the people that we were rubbing elbows with that you see on a day-to-day basis that I was either introducing myself or saying, hey, I'm back. And then the second weekend, we played it back again. Ooh. And between the 95, the 93, and the 90 heat, you and I's allergies were through the roof. And the sickness, I said I walked 2.5 miles up and back, 5 miles into all to get to a Walgreens just to medicate myself to get through. But the funny of the story is I was supposed to take a red eye on that following Thursday, 17 days, 17 nights. I waved the white flag. I was like, I got to get out of Dodge, which I did two days early. But on that Monday, since I'm staying at Grandview, I went over to the South Point, and Matt Yeomans walks out after his show at Veasan, and he did a double take. He's like, Jeff, what the hell are you still doing here?
He asked me, did that Dawson guy move here? I said, no, not yet. I said, he might eventually. I said, no, he went back to Boston. He's gone. It was hilarious, though. I mean, and I was asked that more than once, from all the people that we saw. So, yeah, it was a fun trip. I mean, it was running hard, but that's normal operating procedure for me, but everybody was here. So we got to hang out with a lot of people, watch a lot of basketball. We had a couple meals. We did everything except swim. Like it wasn't swimming weather. It wasn't go hang out by the pool weather. It was still cold. Wind was blowing. We just had a dust storm here 2 days ago, JD, and the allergies kicked up again. I mean, 80-mile-an-hour winds in Vegas is enough, but then blowing all that stuff in the air, literally couldn't see the strip from the sidewalk. I mean, it was all in the air. It was just one of those days turned into one of those nights. But yeah, man, I mean, the winds brought baseball season. We got baseball season now. We got NBA playoffs. We got the Celtics being favored against the Nets. We got all kind of things happening. It's incredible.
I was going to ask you this. as you said, normal day of procedure in Vegas, and you guys, with all these states, I think we're up to 32 states that are legalized, but they're not all up and running. Vegas will be Vegas, and we've talked off the air about that. Never flustered. This is the resume. This is the blueprint. We are who we are, and we're not moving. So with that, Dave, we got through March Madness. We got through the opening day and the first week of baseball, or today's the first full week of baseball. Uh, NBA play-in games and playoffs. The last 10 days of NHL. And of course, I know now you guys are preparing for the last weekend in April, the NFL draft. Get us to surviving the madness and everything else to preparing now for the frenzy and what's going to be the NFL draft.
I can tell you this. They already closed one of the lanes on the strip in front of the Bellagio. And it's a traffic nightmare. If anybody's coming to town and you're staying in that stretch, I ain't coming to see you because it's impossible to get down there and in and out. You saw when we were operating, one of the benefits of doing all the time in the books that I did, I know a lot of ways around stuff and in and out of stuff. And, NFL draft is going to be incredible. You were here for the madness. Vegas is back. Like you saw it firsthand. There was a lot of people here. The first weekend was crazy. The second weekend, not so much, but still a little bit more than years past because people want to come to Vegas. Well, everybody wants to come for the NFL draft. I don't know what they're going to do when they're here, Jeff. I honestly don't know. Like the draft, I don't want to watch the draft. We talked about it on Bostonian versus the book. Matt asked me, do I like mock drafts? And I said, I'd rather have a root canal. I mean, there's a clip right there on my Twitter, SportsBK Can Sing. He literally asked me that. That's what I answered. It's a unique betting opportunity for people that get the information. For the books, if you could ask any book, if there's one thing you didn't have to put up, would it be the NFL draft? And most guys would say yes. You met Chris and Jimmy and those guys, they wouldn't put it up if they didn't have to. Some books don't. But now, because of the spread of gambling and sports gambling in particular, all over the place, there's draft props. You can live bet it in other states while it's going on. In Nevada, we turn it off the day before. You can't bet the draft on the day of the draft. I don't know if anybody's coming, but if you're coming and you think you're going to bet the draft on draft day in Vegas, you can't. So make your bets elsewhere. That's a gaming control board thing. I think they reluctantly okayed doing the draft. Now that the draft is here, they haven't changed that rule. People don't know that, and they're coming. And I've been at the counter, Jeff, talking to people when they come in the morning of the draft. Hey, I want to bet that this guy's going to be the first pick. Sorry, it's down. What do you mean it's down? It hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I know. Would you like to bet a baseball game? No, I want to bet the draft. and they go, well, why can't I bet it? Yeah, it's a gaming rule. It's turned off. Well, why didn't anybody tell me? Well, I mean, I'm telling you now. I didn't know if you were here yesterday, I would have told you could bet it today. You can't bet it tomorrow. Put your bets in today. You're here today. No answer I can give you right now is going to suffice. That's what people got to know before they come.
I'm going to take us back to the pandemic because I remember like it was yesterday watching the Big East noon tip-off, and then they go into halftime and they shut down the Big East tournament, and the rest was history. And for ECSI, it was OMG, they're pulling the plug. What do I do now? And so what we had to do was we had to create content for the next 4 months to keep all our clients happy and to keep the brain moving, because once you get people comfortable, no sports, no content, they're not coming back. They're going to go find something else to keep them busy. So what that allowed us to do was to do more research and homework in the NFL drafts, into the golf scenes, into NASCAR. we pulled a rabbit out of our hat with Alex Smith, comeback player of the year. We sent it out on May 1st at Caesars. Plus, it was plus 1,600 who ended up getting that. But it is such a frenzy now, Dave. Everyone wants to get back into the football betting. And what better way than the draft? Everyone thinks they have an edge there. Everyone has their sites that they go to, their go-to guys. Hey, by the way, so-and-so's moving up the ranks here. Let's get him under over 10. He's going 6th. And I can just imagine with the live draft, these guys just foaming at the mouth. And I feel for the guys at the counter. I'm telling you.
It's been I've had those discussions and they're not fun. I'm trying to explain to somebody why they can't bet it isn't good, but there's a thirst for it right now. There's a lot of people that are going to, they're doing mock drafts now. It's all over the place. It's just one of those things where people want to bet on football. and we know from doing it all the time, between the daily sports, basketball, baseball, hockey, the golf, the weekly sports, the UFC, the weekly sports. I mean, there's a lot of other options. And I think you can find some gems betting on the draft. I'm not saying don't do it. If you want to do it, do it. But it's not, I know for me, it's not for me. And people want to, have me on their show and talk about the draft. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't really have much to offer other than I know I booked it. And when we sat in the book for days leading up to the draft, it was break even or lose a little. That's all we were trying to do. It wasn't, you didn't have that mentality of, try to earn and try to make. It was just literally play box in one defense, sit back, move the numbers as much as you can, try to get a bit on the other side. The problem with the draft is that everybody bets the one way. There's no two-way action. The game, tomorrow night, Atlanta's playing Cleveland Cavaliers. Atlanta's -2. You're going to get bets on the Hawks. You're going to get bet on the Cavaliers. You're going to get bets on over. You're going to get bets on under. On the draft, everybody bets on number of quarterbacks to be drafted in the first round is over 2.5, and they just bet it all one way. And you have to actually move the price to an absurd number to hopefully get a bet on the other side. That's the hard part about the NFL draft.
Let's change gears because I saw something that I was amazed. I don't remember seeing this, unless it was the wrong line. I was on Sports Map the other night with Anthony Pepe, Dan Lifshatz, and a few others, and they were talking about the Nets and the Celtics. The Nets were up 18 going into the fourth quarter or something, so we assumed the Nets were going to win and face the Celtics. So Dan Lifshatz had the Nets -145 or 140 in his head. And then, the counter is, well, actually, the Celtics are probably going to be favored, probably -125, 130. So as soon as the Nets won, DraftKings comes out with the Nets -145. And 3 minutes later, our friend Jeff Sherman at the Westgate comes out with the Celtics -150.
Yep.
And so can you remember something like that, number one? Number two, is that predicated on preseason money's coming in on New Jersey at a certain book, and then the Celtics, the hottest team in the NBA since the middle of January, the liabilities that they might have on the futures with the Celtics to win the East and to win the championship? Or is this just the books making a stand, Dave?
Oh, I think, the majority of the time, the best part about the series prices is it's really subjective. And it was one of my favorite things to do when I was doing these numbers in a book, because you put up your opinion and it gets bet immediately, and then you move it, and you have to move it uniquely. It's not like you go from -130 on the Nets to -125. You move it. You move it like in 20 or 30 cent increments. So if you put up -130 on the Nets and you get a limit bet on the Celtics, you go to pick them. And then you get another bet on them and you go to -140. So you're moving it in chunks. So it's not like it's a ton of money. It's who's betting it. And every book's different. That's why, we've had this discussion on this show before. We've had this discussion off the air. all this nonsense about betting splits and where the money's at and all that stuff. I say nobody knows shit all the time, but none of that stuff means shit. It doesn't mean anything because every book is unique. So, DraftKings thought, all right, well, the Nets are the second choice to win the NBA championship. They're the co-favorite in the East. They got to be favored against the Celtics. And I'm thinking the whole time, the Celtics have home court advantage and have been the best basketball team in the NBA, arguably along with Phoenix, since January. I mean, there's no denying that. And yes, they don't have their big guy, but they're still a really good basketball team, and they have home court. And when you watch the Nets play, they're two guys. I mean, it's two guys. It's Kyrie and KD, which is awesome. KD is arguably the best player in the league, but you got to have a team to win. And I think the Celtics are a better team. I like the number with the Celtics being favored. I said it for weeks with P-Rod on the show. I said it to anybody else that's been listening. I think the Celtics should be favored. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're 4-point favorites in the first game. And you have to make the series price what you think is going to happen going forward. If you think the Nets are going to win a game one, you probably make it pick them or make the Nets favored. If you think the Celtics are going to win game one, you make them favored in a series, because I don't know how much movement you're going to get in this series from game to game because it's so close. I mean, like, look at the Bucks series price. It's minus 1,100. When they win game one, and they're going to win game one, it's going to go to 20-1. Like, you can't get a bet on the Bulls now. You can't get a bet on them after they lose by 18 in a non-challenge game. So the series prices are awesome. There's no one way to do it, but it's fascinating to watch them get put up, different prices at different books. If we didn't have that damn screen, this is the way it used to be. How every book in the world can have Celtics -4. I do not. Drives me crazy. If you like the Celtics and you're in the book, go to 5. Take a bet on the Nets. They won't do it. But in the series prices, they can do it.
What was Dave Sharapan's series price?
Oh, Celtics -135, 140. That's
Okay.
right. I like the Celtics. I want to see the Celtics win because I'm tired of the Nets. The fact that the Nets have been the second choice to win the NBA championship all year and have a 9-32 record at home or something against the spread, it's absurd to me. And I'm watching it going, how are the Nets going to go from the play-in on the road? Say they beat the Celtics. They get the Bucks. Oh, then they got to beat the Bucks. Oh, then they got to beat either the Heat or the other team in the East that gets through, which I don't think it's going to be the Sixers. I hope it is, just for content and fun-wise. But then they got to beat the Suns, like, all on the road, all as the lower seed. Man, if you do that, I tip my hat to you. That's awesome. I just don't see it. So I've been in kind of not conflict, but I just been like, that price isn't right. And if it was me, if I was still doing what I used to do, I would have been trying to take money on them. And now, like, at place like FanDuel, and they're plus 850 to win the NBA championship, lower than the Celtics. So the numbers are finally, jiving right.
So let's play smart guy, sharp guy, however you want to word this.
Okay.
If you like the Nets in the series and you wanted to get cute, you could take the Celtics tonight in the series. Let's just use your number, -135.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics win game one. You're going to now get, after game one, you're going to get the Nets at probably about a plus 250.
I wouldn't think that high, but close to $2.
$2.
Yeah, close to. You probably move the Celtics series price depending how the game goes. If it's -135 or 140, which it looks like it's kind of settled in at, you go to just over $2 and you get plus 190 or plus $2 for rounding purposes.
Yeah. At ECSI, what we like to do a lot in the playoffs in any sport is to pick a few series, sit back, let the first couple games go out, and especially if your team goes out 2-0, they win their 2 home games, and then they go on the road, you got what I call is that free swing on the road team in game 3, where you can put a half unit on it, because if the road team wins, you pick up a half unit, it's 2-1, you still got a series. If the road team loses, well, you're up 3-0 in your series. Now you just hold on and wait to, eventually win that series in cash. So I guess I was trying to get a little tricky there and say, well, if you did like the Nets, but you thought the Celtics were going to make a statement in game 1, why take them at plus 125, 120, whatever you're getting? Let the Celtics hopefully win game 1, and then you can get a better price. But obviously, if Brooklyn wins game 1, then you're in a whole nother different world.
Correct. Yep. That's a good way to attack it. And, like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You have the very good plan, and then Brooklyn wins the first game and you don't get the plus price, and what do you do then? So I think there's so many opportunities to, like, now that the games, we watch the regular season and we make bets and we give out games and all this other stuff. You don't know what you're getting. I've been saying for years, my favorite time of year is the playoffs. Hockey's still number one to me. It's because it's just literally every shift means something and they play like it. Baseball playoffs are 1A. It's every pitch. It means something. Well, now basketball, not every possession, but almost every possession means something in the NBA. So they're fun games and things to look at, and the series prices provide opportunity. And like one of your things that you always say is that, we're not gambling, we're investing. Well, you're making investments in a team, in a series, and you have a unique thing. It doesn't happen. There's back-to-backs, but it doesn't happen where they play the same team over and over and over. And I think it gives you an advantage, if you're really paying attention, to get ahead of it and get prices that you really like. Now, they still have to perform and have to win. So there's no guarantees in any of it. But I think you're absolutely right. I don't know. You can take a shot and put it out there to take a position before game 1. But I think waiting till after game 1 to get a feel for it is probably an even better move. There's a way to go about it. Everybody's different. And again, we've talked about this. We could give you the winner. We could say it's going to be Celtics in 5. You're not going to believe me anyway. And you're going to bet whatever you want. So, good luck. I think it's a long series. There's bets like, will the series be 6 games, 7 games? Those are pretty good prices. Like this is a true, not pick 'em series, but this really is going to be good basketball. The games are going to be tight. One little twist of an ankle, somebody rolls an ankle on something and they're out. If KD or Kyrie are out, they're out. If Tatum or Brown are out, they might be out. It's that close. So I can't wait to watch it. I cannot wait to watch it. I cleared the calendar for Sunday. I cannot wait to watch it. I told everybody in the house, please, I got a few hours of just watching basketball on Sunday. Can't wait.
Lastly, on basketball, is there any value with the Suns plus 110 to get out of the West?
Man, it's hard, right? Like, it ain't enough. It just don't feel like that's enough. But who's beating that team, at least until the Western Conference Finals? I don't think anybody. And that's the beauty of watching such a – they set the franchise record in wins. They've been the best team. Paul was out with an injury, didn't miss a beat. Booker, not even in the discussion for the MVP, should be. Coach, fantastic. Bench roles, everyone knows their roles and plays it to perfection. Plus 110 to win the West. If they get to the Western Conference Finals, they're minus 250 over everybody. That would leave you with a shot to invest and lock a profit in the other side. So I mean, it's not a bad move. It's still plus because after they win a couple games and something happens, if Luka don't come back, I mean, their second round may be the Jazz, who they're going to beat, or a beat down Dallas. I mean, if Dallas is okay and Luka's okay, Dallas is going to give Phoenix fits. There's going to, I mean, that's not a 4-game, 5-game series. That's a 6 or 7. Dallas is going to pick up 2 wins probably in that series. That's the only one that could get interesting before they got to face Memphis or Golden State.
I agree with you. So that's where the thought process is like, you can grab Phoenix at the plus money. Let's just say it is Golden State, and they'll probably Phoenix will be minus 240, 250. Golden State has that flair with Steph. But again, you can lock in profit, then you can let the first couple of games go. If you get a split in Phoenix, it'll be interesting to see Phoenix minus like 2.5 at Golden State or something like that. And game 3 becomes that big game,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, depending on, again, and trying to make the lines for 2 rounds down the line, and this NBA playoffs is like a month out. I mean, they run so long in between games. It's crazy. But I don't know if a game 3 situation shows up with its Phoenix at Golden State. I don't know initially how big of a favorite Phoenix will be. Now, they may put up pick and let them bet Phoenix to be in the favorite, but I know I've been in that room and you're sitting there going, this is the game Golden State's going to win. That first home game for the dog is game 3. It's very hard for the visitor to win just because of everything surrounding it, especially if they're down 2-0, that sense of urgency. We see it in hockey. We see it in the NBA. I mean, with the pitchers in baseball, it's a little bit different, but that'll be an interesting number. We'll have to remind me when we get to that point. We'll see what the number is.
And I said Suns 2.5 for 2 reasons, because you talked about game 3 where the whole world will be on Golden State anyway. So if they open the Suns at 2.5, they're going to get their Golden State money to take it down probably to a pick 'em. It's a must win. Steph is not going to lose and go down 0-3. And then you come right back. Let's just say Golden State does win. They put that 2.5 number up again at 2-1. And the people that were on Golden State for game 3 says, hey, well, they took care of business. I'm going to go back with them again. It makes it easier on the actual, as you would know. And if I called you out on that game, the sharp side on game 4 in that scenario, the Sun side
is on Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll hope that number comes down. But when you see that same number in game 3 after a loss in game 4, I mean, you'll hear it. Everybody will talk about it. It's become a popular thing, the zigzag theory. You'll hear it nonstop for the next month and a half. I mean, it happens, but it's not, nothing is set in stone. We've talked about this so many times. The ability to adapt in this business is why we're still in it, being the ages we are in our 50s. But you can't take something and just accept it all the time. Every situation is different. And but it's still patterns, right? It's still, you see things all the time and you go, yeah, team up 2-1. The public bets the dog. The bad guys bet the favorite. Usually the favorite wins.
Let's change gears here. Baseball, 1 week in. Obviously, we know you're a diehard Pirate fan. And
thanks.
Well, you know what? As you said, every day is a different day. And the teams that aren't supposed to do well sometimes come out of the gate and shock the world. The teams that are supposed to do well struggle out of the gates. I know that all the Brewer fans were starting to wonder after they left Wrigley Field there, and struggled opening game, but was able to get it back. The Red Sox pulled a couple rabbits out of their hats the last couple days to get to close to 500. As you know, and I know, and anyone listening here that wants to listen to us, Baseball is one of those sports where they don't understand how much the opportunity is there to actually grind out and make money. And usually what happens in our lanes, Dave, is this. Everyone's all hot and lathered up. It's opening week. They're playing the baseball. They're following it. In comes NHL, NBA playoffs. Everyone's super stoked. First Saturday in May is the Kentucky Derby. We're getting the warmer weather. And then Stanley Cup champ, NBA champ in June. And then we limp to the All-Star break, and everyone's waving the white flag. I got 6 weeks to football. Kids are out of school. The wife needs a break. I need a break. I'm going to the beach house. I'll see you Labor Day weekend when we start playing football. Why is that mentality?
Why is that mentality? There's nothing else to bet on. People get worn out betting baseball, Jeff. Like that's the thing we know. And I mean, baseball fans know it's a long season. So I think you see this excitement for opening day because baseball's back. And like this year, especially, it maybe wasn't going to be back. I mean, it was being discussed for real that, it was going to be a lockout, that there weren't going to be games. And me and you were talking about it while you were here. Like, geez, if there's no baseball, what are we going to talk about come June? Like, we're going to be back to like really analyzing the golf. I was thinking, geez, we're going to get into this tennis again. Do I got to start talking about soccer, getting ready for the World Cup in the fall? Like, seriously. So thank goodness baseball's back. But I think baseball's the ultimate, like you said, it is a grind but the pros that do it, this is the sport they make the most on. And they have a real advantage. It is the most closely to the numbers thing that you could possibly get. I mean, college basketball totals are close. If you get a really good system and you get some guys that really pay attention to specific conferences, I think college basketball totals can be beat. But baseball just becomes a money game. I mean, when you lay 130 and you take 150, you don't have to even know who's pitching. You just know what the money is. And then with the totals, it's interesting in baseball right now with the DH being in the National League, you're going to start to see some difference in the totals. So I just think by summertime, people wear out. Like I've just seen it in the book. Like after you see the big day in May at the beginning with the Derby, as soon as the Preakness winner isn't the Derby winner, boom, it's just slow. And then Del Mar and Saratoga open up and you get people in and they bet baseball because they're betting anything. But by that time, it gets boring for a lot of people. Watching the games is tough for baseball bettors. Like that's why this Yerfie and Nerfie is getting popular, right? This first inning bet because, I mean, I don't mean it disrespectful, but people have the attention span of a gnat. Like it's quick. So I only got to watch the first inning and have a result. Okay. Well, you're betting a coin flip for the most part. Good luck. You get, 2 outs in the bottom of the first. You get a broken bat single, a pass ball, and then a bloop, and a run scores when you had 5 outs consecutively. It's tough. And I think people get tired of the general part of that. And then the excitement of football is always looming. And, training camp talk starts in late July and it's all over. Everybody forgets about baseball.
You will be tiptoeing from our show to the MLB network. I smile from ear to ear, like envious of you tiptoeing over there, talking with HR and the boys or whoever's on for the shows, talking baseball. The transition from MLB network and everyone else in these lanes. Got to talk sports betting. Got to talk numbers. Got to, the crawler. You talked. We were on the phone Sunday, and then you says, "Watch what I put up on Twitter." You had what A-Rod, Ortiz, and someone else. Bottom of the first, and they got in-game lines on ESPN. Talk to us, Dave.
I can't believe it. I really, it's from somebody who's been in the business for as long as I have and have been unable to have these conversations, despite the fact that I was having them anyway, now can have them on the air and openly watch the alternative broadcast of the Sunday night baseball game with Michael Kay, who I absolutely love. I just love everything about him on the Yankee Network. And, he's smug, he's funny, he's knowledgeable. And then they put him with A-Rod. So they call it the K-Rod cast. And I'm like, what is this? And then Big Poppy comes on, who's entertaining. He's got a bad connection. And at the bottom of the screen, I see live in-game betting odds. And they put the in-game number. And I'm watching it going, they're putting it out in front of everybody now. Like before, they wouldn't let you talk about it. And it was bad, bad, bad. And now it's like, all right, here you go. Throw it out in front of you. What do you want to do with it? And like, I don't know one way or the other. I don't know what the best way to do it is. I don't think we found it yet. As content guys, I don't think we found it yet. As content girls, I don't think we found it yet. We're constantly working on it. And I mean, there's a betting show called The Bettor's Eye on the MLB Network. And we're going to talk about, props and different things and all kinds of stuff. And I'm thankful for the opportunity, but I still can't believe it sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to do it right best I can. And I tell people all the time that ask, how do you get into this? How do you just do you? Just be you. Like, I don't know. I worked in a book I was offshore in 1997. Like, I lived in Curacao for almost 2 years. When Andrew Jones was coming up, I was living in Curacao when the island stopped every time he came to bat. It didn't matter where you were. The game was on, and if you were at a store, everybody stopped working. Andrew's up. Oh, he flew out. Okay, let me ring you up. Like, it was like that everywhere you went. And now we're talking about the K props today on the game in, Pittsburgh. Brubaker's pitching. And is he going to get over 4.5 Ks or not? I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I pinch myself every day.
You brought up a 4-letter or 5-letter word. I was going to tiptoe around it, and then we'll go to our last subject. The madness of the Nerfies, the instant gratification, what it has done, and our good friend Trent, and he has created a following second to none, and next, he does one sport, another sport. Now it's baseball, and it's the Nerfies, and it's that first run. Will they score? Will they not score? Interesting TikTok now on social media, what they were talking about. I won't even get into it. But are you on your side when someone's running to the window with these long-legged parlays, or even just one side of a Nerfie? Are you giggling? Or is this something that, hey, the books are welcoming because we're getting money in on a baseball game?
Yeah, the books are welcoming it. I mean, we did the yes, nos, and they were like my thing because I was interested in it, and we had guys that were playing them straight. But when I started as a ticket writer and we started putting them up, we had guys that would come up and parlay 3 or 4 of them every day. They're doing exactly what Trent was doing in the book. And I give Trent all the credit in the world for building his following and doing what he's doing with these surgical streams and the lays and the wagons and all the terms. And I love saying them because as ridiculous as they may sound to some people, that's the way people talk. So the Yerfie is the yes run in the first inning. The Nerfie is the no run in the first inning. He specifically told me that, so I've adopted it. The book welcomes all parlays. So if you want to parlay those, go for it. If you want to bet them, go for it. I mean, a lot of times in the book, you used to say, just give me a shot. Well, you have a shot. No matter which side anyone bets, you have a shot. And now it becomes, I had to learn how to move those numbers. When you made yes minus 120 and a guy came in and you were giving him a nickel. So he would bet 600 to win 500 on it. What do you move it to? Jeez. and we would have a discussion in the room. Well, do you go to 140? Well, no, you can't, because then somebody can take plus 120 on the other side and you make nothing. You literally have 0 and 0 on the other side. That guy's 600 to win 500. The other guy's 500 to win 600. You took in 1,100 handle and you make 0. So how do you move it? Do you move it 10 cents? Do you move it 15? Do you move it 17? And we used to have to figure out the players to learn how to move it. So it's crazy how much people are talking about it. And I think it's the low-hanging fruit. I mean, really, it is, because it's easy. And again, I don't know how much of an expert you could be in first run, no run, innings. I don't know, but it's out there. And I can tell you from the book's perspective, they go like this. Come on up. Let's go. Load up your account. We're good.
No pushing. We get plenty of. We'll open up a couple more windows. Come on down. We're all set.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, we took one on ECSI VIPs in the wheres earlier this week with your Vegas Knights. Kind of sort of must win. And listen, must wins doesn't mean they win. We all know that in these lanes. They opened up a pick'em overnight, and the actual opening number in the morning was minus 125, steamed to minus 130. We had them at minus 129, and the history was very simply, they didn't show up in the second period, miraculously tied it with less than a minute to go, and then losing overtime. Knights in or out, the temperature of the city on the Knights, and where are your eyes as we're getting closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs?
It's crazy. The Eastern Conference is pretty much set as far as teams in. They're just trying to battle for position and set up the matchups, and it's going to be awesome. The Western Conference, there's 4 spots for 5 teams, it looks like, at the bottom. And Matt and I went over this on Bostonian versus the book this week. I mean, the next couple games, Vegas is in Western Canada doing the swing. They played Vancouver. They're in Calgary tonight, and then they go to Edmonton. 3 big games, and that was a tough loss the other night. It was funny because I had Vancouver, and the kids are sitting there rooting for the Knights, and you're in that situation where you're like, they're cheering as they're scoring, and I'm sitting there going, don't let them tie this. Please don't let them tie this. And then they tied it, and I was like, hey, do you want to go run and get me something to eat and keep the change? And so now I have my own Uber food driver. It's my daughter. She's got a license in my car that I fill up with my money with gas. I give her 20. I know the food only costs 11, so she made $9. It's a good deal for her. But I sent her out, and the Knights lost. So I can't wait to see how this all shakes out, because Vancouver's charging. You want to talk about a team that could actually make it? That's not one of the 5 for the 4 spots. They're the 6th team. If I had to say right now, I don't think the Knights make it. I hope I'm wrong. Vegas is weird because everybody's really focused on the draft. Derek Carr just signed a 3-year, $120 million extension. Derek Carr's going to make $40 million a year. That's kind of the buzz. That's what everybody's talking about, along with the draft. And the Knights are under the radar right now as far as not making the playoffs, which would be the first time in their existence that they don't make the playoffs. So, I mean, the Western Conference is Colorado and everybody else. Did you see what they did to the Kings last night? They won 9-2 in a game that the Kings are one of the teams fighting for that playoff spot. They never had a chance. So, I don't know. There's sneaky teams like Nashville. Nashville's played Edmonton tonight. These are playoff games, JD. I'm not so much looking at the sides. It's really hard. You get a deflection, you get a turnover. Game can turn in a second in a hockey game. I like to look at the totals more often than not now. I play like a lot of unders because the season in the NHL, especially with teams like Florida, I mean, we saw 7s. I mean, on the regular, there were 7s in the total, and they were going over. So books have adjusted. You see, like every game today, I'm looking at the board. Every game is 6. There's a 6.5. There's only 1 5.5, and it's really only 1 or 2 books. So I think you can catch books kind of before the playoffs, not adjusting totals down. Keep an eye on those totals between teams that are competing for a playoff spot. Edmonton, Nashville, Minnesota, Dallas. These are playoff games. Vegas, Calgary. Then you got a game like New Jersey, Colorado. The total should be 8.5, and it's 6.5. New Jersey goes over. You talk about the first run. Yes, nerfy. In a baseball, first period over. New Jersey, Colorado has been one of the best bets all season. My guy Brad Howe in West Virginia, him and I doing a show, 8 in a Box. You can find that as well. He's been pointing that out to me. That's been money. You want something to look at? We only got, 8 or 7 games left. New Jersey overs, first period overs, and the other team over their team total.
The scroller has been going since the 46-7-minute mark. Dave Sharapan at Sportsbook Consig at Cash Consideration Show, The Bostonian versus the Book with Matt Peralt, an amazing show that I am blessed to have been on a few times. Unfortunately, my Yukon Huskies didn't do that well, but that's for another show. I had to send the hat to Frankie. He's probably going to get it today or tomorrow, so that'll be all over social media with his Villanova. But got to pay your debts to society.
Absolutely.
But the stage is yours, Dave. Tell everyone where they can follow you, getting all your podcasts, all your live shows, and all that good stuff.
Try to put everything on the one place at Sports BK Consig on Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, you can go to Cash Considerations Podcast on TikTok, Instagram. With guys like Kiefer helping you, I got people helping me trying to just get out there and get the message out. But like on the daily, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, Matt and I do Bostonian versus the Book. It's an hour and a half or so where we talk about the games, we talk about sports, we talk about who knows what. We do a rundown just like this and go. And then every night from 4 o'clock Pacific to 7 o'clock Pacific, I'm on Sports Grid TV and Sirius XM Radio 159, where we're doing in-game live. They call it in-game live all access, in-game live prime time. It's a bunch of different shows. It's available on all these different platforms, not just YouTube, but also Hulu and all these other things. You can watch it on your phone. There's an app. It's all there. And then in between, we do shows like this, like Breakfast Bankroll, which I got a tweet just now from somebody that says, whoever made this, you have to find out where Jeff got it, who did it, and you have to put it out all over. So expect to see some tweets with mine and your picture coming up here shortly. But we do Breakfast Bankroll. Today I'm on Bettor's Eye on MLB Network. We're trying to do at least a weekly appearance on MLB to talk about baseball. And then between this and like Wager Talk, we'll drop different shows, Cash Considerations. It's all there on YouTube. It's all there on Cash Consid Show at Cash Consid Show on Twitter. And that's it, JD. I think we covered everything except that thing this morning that I tweeted about that poker player. Did you see that? I mean, come on. How funny was that?
That Dave, and I replied back, and I got to ask you, we sit in the book when we're together, whether it's at South Point, Circa, Westgate, we get our meal. And I've told the story 100 times. We bought lunch. And 4 hours later, you went back and I had to microwave your chowder because between Jimmy Vaccaro, between Matt Yeomans, between Josh, people stopping by and we're people watching. We're listening to the stories. Oh. So my question to you, because I go to the World Series of Poker, we got a lot of clients that play in the main event. And what is worse, sitting in a sports book, listening to the stories, or in a big poker tournament? Because as you and I know, between the two of us, we got about 80 years of experience here. There's not a story we haven't lived, we haven't heard. So What is worse?
Poker minus 250. It's poker minus 250, Jeff. It's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, because if you stay and you call and you win, it's bad. If you're on the back end of a beat, if you get rivered, it's bad. It's nothing but bad. And then the poker player comes in and tells you about it in the book. And you're like, man, I told you I didn't care over there. What are you coming over here for? So I make poker player bad beat stories minus 250 the opener, and I'm ready to move it to minus 500 on the first bet. I just can't believe it. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we met so many people. We sit in that book, like when we're down at the South Pointer, we went over to the Cosmo, we went to Circa. The bad beat stories are endless in the sports book. They're endless, but the characters are what make it. I mean, you met Anthony. Anthony he's a movie character. Anthony he's a movie character. He's there every day, and he listens to the same shit. You got a guy like Spider. Spider's over there on the horse side doing the same thing every day, grinding. So I know all these characters. I've heard all these stories, and I used to just sit there at the counter and kind of egg them on so they would talk more, because it's gold. It's absolute gold. So we saw that video today, and I had to tweet it out. I'm glad you responded. So if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. I mean, this guy who tweeted it out, he had like 180 views when I tweeted it out. It's got 5,000 views already today. He's got to be like, wait, who's this guy and how did he do it? Between that and the tweet about Paige and what she did yesterday, I can't believe that's like, it's over 100,000 impressions on my retweet of her tweet. Minus 50,000 to make you look. Everyone looked. I know you looked. I looked. How could you guilty? It's that good. So, I mean, that's what this is all about. Keeping it fun, keeping it real. And again, thanks for having me, brother.
Oh my God. Yes. I was like ready to DM you and say, okay, where's the picture? Where is the picture?
You had to scroll down. But I mean, that's the only way you could quote tweet that. I mean, she put it for the listeners that didn't see it. She said, I like boobs, specifically mine. What? Of course you're going to click and see what that says. Male, female, didn't matter. So I give her credit, man. She's out there. She puts it all out there too, and she does an unbelievable job. Unbelievable. I wouldn't ask her who she likes in the game, but that's a whole different story.
Dave Sharapan at Sportsbook Consig at Cash Consideration Show at Bostonian versus the Book. He's going to tiptoe over to another show, and then he'll be live with Matt Peralt. Good afternoon, Matty. We are letting him go real soon. So can't thank you enough. Make sure you hug those girls. Tell Mrs. Consig the East Coast says hi. Enjoy the Easter egg hunt and Easter. To the breakfast bankroll. Anyone wanting those shirts, T-shirts, sweatshirts, I got them for you. So DM me, DM Dave. We will get those out onto the website. So anyone wagering, investing today, always do it responsibly. If you do have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number available. Ask for help. Why? Myself and Dave care. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one, the only, the real Vegas Dave at Sportsbook Consig at Cash Consideration Show. Go catch him on Bostonian versus the Book. Everyone have a blessed day. I'll be back at 2 with Colton Soroka live from the Windy City.